All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another stream. Not quite the Coach Nate show, but we are doing another stream here where I will be talking a little bit about why work with a nutritionist or a personal trainer or coach. And we're going to be talking about that discussion. I want to answer some of your guys' questions, but first of all, again, thank you so much for joining me this morning. It is 5:30 a.m. in the morning here in Canada. So we're starting off nice and early. Already October 16th, the Sunday. Hard to believe, can't believe it, but thank you so much. We're starting off early. A couple of people already asking, I see in the chat, I saw Mary there asking, 5:30 a.m. a bit too early on a Sunday for Mary, but don't worry, this will be posted up later for people who can't come in so early, which I understand. So it'll all be up there, and we'll go through everything, and you guys will be able to see it. So I'm up early. I got to go to the gym after this. I have some work to do, so we thought we'd start a little bit earlier. Usually I'd like to start around 7 a.m.-ish, maybe 6, but 5:30, I think this is our earliest stream that we've ever done. And so, big shout out to everyone. I really appreciate everyone coming in. The topic, why work with a nutritionist, work with a nutrition coach, work with a fitness coach. If you haven't before, this is going to be something that you're going to want to stick around for and watch and just kind of learn some of the things that I do with my clients. Right now on screen, you see that there's not the food picture. And again, this is probably the first time that I haven't had the picture here, but I actually have a copy of my ebook. And so the other thing that we're talking about today is my new Patreon. All right, so we decided to start a Patreon. We're going to talk about what are some of the perks that you're going to get as a Patreon member, and then also, what are some of the things that we're going to be doing if you work with me as a client. And you can also ask questions in chat as well. So, a lot of people I know haven't worked with a nutritionist. They haven't worked with a fitness coach or a personal training coach. So if you have questions, or if you just have questions about weight loss, body fat loss, optimizing your overall health, go ahead and ask, and then I can help break that down. But I want to show you just a couple things that kind of come from my programs, all right, and what goes into building a program for individuals, all right? But first, like I said, the Patreon has started. I put the Patreon link in here. The Patreon link is in the community page as well, and it should be on my About page also. So if you're interested in that, again, supporting the channel. I already see 6 thumbs up. Thank you so much, guys. Supporting the channel, all right, there's different tiers. If you go to the link, you'll see 5 different tiers. We have the support tier, our first tier there. Our second one, the community tier, program tier, coaching tier, and then advanced or gold advanced coaching tier. And then you guys will be able to see quite a bit of things coming, quite a bit of perks coming in each one of those different tiers, especially the last, I'd say the last 3, number 3 to 6. All right, so 3 to 5, I should say. But let me know your questions here, guys. Say hi in chat. Let me know where you're listening from. I'd love to hear from you. It's been a little while since we streamed. So if you're in chat, say hi. Let me know where you're listening from, and then ask any questions that you may have pertaining to Patreon, pertaining to weight loss, whatever it may be. Again, like I said, it's always nice to get feedback from the chat. So we talked a little bit about before, and we'll get into the program after. But I just wanted to show and go through this. I'm not going to scroll too much. All right? I know it's not great to look at, to watch a scrolling page. But I know I've talked a little bit about my nutrition book before. I have it up here. Remember, all individuals that join as a Fit Team member through YouTube will get a free copy of this ebook, but also if you join as a Patreon member as well. So a lot of sort of information put into this ebook. It took me a little bit over a month to write, and it was during a lockdown, so I had a lot of time to write during that month. All right, so it seems maybe that was fast, but there wasn't much else going on. Our gym had to was closed at the time. My personal gym where I trained from, so it was closed at the time. So I thought I'd probably be a good idea to put paper to pen, type out the ebook, and then get it up here. So here are some things, guys, some of my philosophical ideas, because it's, even if we look at the title here, Nutrition Change is a Marathon, Not a Sprint. So some of my philosophical ideas and some of my ideas that I think would help an individual lose weight but also maintain weight loss. Okay, so we always want to look at it that way. All right, yes, it might be nice to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds over the course of 1 or 2 weeks, but will we be able to maintain that in the long run? I don't think so. I think that's just too much of a calorie deficit. I think it's just going to be way too hard, especially if you're losing 5 pounds a week. You're in a, what is it? Probably about 17,000, just over 17,000 calorie deficit, maybe even more, maybe a 20,000 calorie deficit off the top of my head. So, just different philosophical things. And then also, like I said, it's a nutrition guide. So we start off with some philosophical ideas, but then we also get into the principles of nutrition, do what works for you. So how to pick a diet, all right, which I think is very, very important. What diet works best for you, all right? There's not one diet, all right, that's a one size fits all, that I kind of explain in here as well. If there was, everyone would be on the same diet, right? And there'd be one diet for all of us, which would be amazing, but unfortunately, that's just not how it happens. Right? So we talk a little bit about that, but as I said, it's a nutrition guide. So we also talk a little bit about carbohydrates, proteins, healthy fats. We talk about vegetables. There's lists that are in the book that we kind of break down. So as you see here, the different type of carbohydrates that, I would choose if I was going to make a diet for myself. Give a little explanation on why I like those type of foods, like these carbohydrates, and why you might want to add them into your diet. So a breakdown of all the different macronutrients and a little bit of discussion on micronutrients as well. But the important thing is that it's kept simple, right? I still remember the first nutrition book that I read when I was probably 16 or 17. It was super easy to follow, and that was sort of my blueprint, I guess, going back to that, and sort of what my inspiration was, going back to the first one that I read, not, something that was easy to follow, things that I can remember still to this day as a 17-year-old, way back then, way back, a couple decades ago, but still remembering that. So keeping it simple, keeping it something that you can follow. All right, but pertinent information, important information, and I think things that get overlooked sometimes. So you'll see a lot here, a little breakdown. Let's just give a little example of carbohydrates. We see, oats or oatmeal, so whole grains, sweet potatoes, quinoa, brown rice, and other varieties, things like that. Talk a little bit about legumes and beans, and then also some of the fruits. You've heard me talk about these before, but some of my favorite fruits. Blueberries, grapefruit, apples, things like that. And then in the protein, I won't go all the way down, like I said. I won't go and scroll through the whole book. But in the protein section, in the healthy fat section, there's going to be food lists for you guys as well in this ebook. So, I'm very, very proud of this book. Like I said, it took me quite a while to write, to try to get my thoughts down. Like I said, I kind of had the chapters all laid out, but then, the lockdown gave me some time to actually get down and write it, sit down and write it. And like I said, we were on lockdown for about 5 weeks, so there was a lot of time to go in there and write. So, as a member of, the Fit team here on YouTube, as a member on Patreon, you will be getting a free copy of this ebook as long as you email me at my business email, foodsforhealth1 at gmail.com. And as you see, Mary in chat, or was in chat, she posted this last night. I guess it was before our stream. Mary's got the I guess you wouldn't be able to see that, but hopefully you can see that now. She actually has the green letter, and then also has the badge beside her name that shows that Mary is a member, Fit Team member of the channel. And so that's one of the things that you would get by joining as a Fit Team member here. Patreon, a little bit different, right? Of course, the Patreons would get a big shout out here on YouTube from me as well. So that's the ebook, guys. Like I said, I'm not going to scroll through the whole thing, but it does exist. It's out there. People have it. All the Fit Team members have it. It was emailed to them. It's in PDF format right now. All right, I have hard copies as well, but it'd be very tough for you guys to see that. But so I threw the PDF up here, and I think it would be very, very helpful, very useful, especially if you're beginning your journey. If you're beginning your health journey, your nutrition journey, fitness journey, whatever it might be, if you're trying to lose weight, even if you're just trying to learn a little bit about nutrition, macronutrients, micronutrients, calories, how many calories are in fat, how many calories are in carbs and protein, right? Things like that. I think this will be very helpful for you. So that's the ebook, guys. And again, ask any questions, say hi in chat if you're in here. I know we're just talking about some of the things, what a program looks like, what an ebook looks like, but more than happy to answer your questions as well. So that's the ebook. Let's go into our next. So let me pull it up here, guys. All right, so I'm going to bring something on screen here. Now, these are all rough copies, all right? Quite rough because I wrote these down. All right, so this is Coach Nate creating a program for someone. This is like the infancy stage, all right? So what we see here, this is someone who, is trying to, one, obviously gain strength, gain muscle, and lose body fat. So they're trying to make it body composition changes. All right, and we see this because if you can read this, and I think you guys should be able to see it okay. If someone can let me know if I need to zoom in a little bit or zoom out. Like I said, this is the first time I don't just have a picture on here where we're actually going to be going through some information, so it'd be very helpful. But I think you guys should be okay. If not, just let me know in chat. And thank you again so much for the thumbs up, guys. I do appreciate it. Okay, so this information here, hopefully you guys can read it. We see that we have push-pull legs, all right? Now, what does that mean? Now, this is the fitness side. This is the workout side of the program. All right, I'm going to get into quite a bit of detail. I think you guys will find some of the other detail on nutrition very valuable as well, and sort of what goes into, how to, if I was to ask someone, or to ask, one of you guys, how many calories you think you need to eat to lose 1 pound a week, 2 pounds a week, right? A lot of people can't give that answer, right? It's very, very tough. A lot of people will go a lot lower, all right, than they think they need to go. But in a lot of those times, you can actually eat a little bit more depending on a number of factors. And we'll get into all this depending on your height, your age, your activity level, how much lean muscle mass you have, if you do know that. So we'll go into a breakdown of all of that. But I wanted to give you an example. And again, this is very, very early infancy stage. Anything that I write out, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm someone that likes to write out my ideas first and then kind of type them out. Just how, I don't know if that's from something from school that I picked up, but I always do that. When it comes to programming, I always write out first. Allows me to kind of make that blueprint, and then I go ahead and create the program. Same thing when I'm calculating macronutrients or creating a nutrition plan for someone. But so let's take, for instance, all right, someone who, all right, so this individual wanted something, and this is advanced, all right, so this is an advanced individual. They wanted a push-pull legs workout. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but they have a pull day, a push day, and a leg day, and they do that. They go through that cycle 2 times a week. So they have 2 pull days, 2 push days, 2 leg days, and a day off. All right, and I'm wondering if there's anyone in chat who actually, is at this advanced level, because if you are, one, congratulations to you. But if you aren't, right, it's something that you can work towards. But again, just like the nice thing about nutrition is you have to use what works for yourself. Now, the nice thing about push-pull legs, you have see me have it written up here in the corner, by the way, 16 weeks. So this is a 16-week program. A lot of trainers will kind of, make constant changes, and sometimes I'll make little changes, like if it's, maybe to a tricep exercise or a bicep exercise or something, one of the smaller muscle groups, I might make a little bit of a change. But when you're doing push-pull legs, it's pretty easy to get everything in there. So there's not a lot of changes that have to be made. But anyway, this is an advanced program, not an intermediate lifter, not a beginner lifter, that's for sure. This would just be way too much volume. So way too many exercises and not enough days off. You can see how long some of these workouts actually are. But if you're getting into fitness or anything like that, you need a coach that can, one, program for an individual who is rehabilitating a lower back, maybe let's say lumbar spine. They're L3. They have having trouble with L3. You also need to know how to program for someone that's trying to prepare. This would be for, let's say, even a bodybuilding contest or some sort of competition. All right. Now, this individual wasn't for a competition, but this is obviously an advanced lifter. Right. Now, the cardio is not written on here, but this individual was doing about 20 minutes of cardio after each workout. So they were getting quite a bit in. All right. They had 6 workouts a week. All right. That was 2 hours of cardio as well. So if you just go through the program here with me real quick. So if we start with pull day number 1. And I know a lot of people, and like I said before in some of our streams, like I've mentioned to you guys before, all right, when it comes to resistance training, when it comes to lifting weights, when it comes to going to the gym, a lot of people get scared off with, not knowing what to do or thinking that the gym isn't for them. One of the main focuses that I really want to emphasize by the end of this year is how important fitness is, how important getting that 150 minutes of cardio in, or resistance training, whatever it may be. 150 minutes per week, guys. That's it. All right. Now, this program here, this is more than 150 minutes. Like I said, this is an advanced program. This is not something that you would start with. All right. Why? One, let's look at the lifts in here. We have a deadlift. We have bench press. We have squats, 4 sets of that, and barbell squats. I think there's other squats that I had put in there as well. Yeah, goblet squat. So, very advanced lifts. So we have the compound lifts in there. All right. So you're not going to be beginning with those usually, especially with this type of volume. If we look at, let's say push number 2, look how many exercises are involved in this day. All right. We have dumbbell bench, barbell incline bench, decline dumbbell bench, incline flies, military press, front raises, superset with a rear delt, and then a face pull, barbell shrugs, bench dips, overhead, rope tricep extension. I mean, that's a lot of exercises, especially for a second day. So again, that's why I always say, guys, when you work with a coach, that coach needs to know your experience and what level you're at. And so that's why in my coaching tiers, we always do a consultation. This is for Patreon. This is what and individuals who've worked with me over the past, I'd say, year and a half from here, is we always have a sit down face-to-face, on Skype, on Zoom consultation. I need to know if there's any limitations. I need to know if there's any injuries that you're dealing with. Let's say you have a sore shoulder. I have individuals right now with torn rotator cuffs. So if you're doing that, obviously on your push day, you are not doing a military press, just as a barbell press, overhead press. You're not going to be doing front raises. You're not going to be doing rear delt work. You're not going to be doing lateral raises like we see on push day number 1. All right, very, very tough. Raises out to the side, very tough if you have a torn rotator cuff. All right, so you need to know those things. And then that's why I have those consultations. And if it's hard to follow on Patreon, so if you go to the Patreon link and you're reading it, a 30-minute consultation, that's a monthly consultation. Same thing with the hour. That's an hour consultation monthly, all right, as it says there. I should put monthly maybe in the fourth tier there as well. But it's always a consultation each month, okay? Following back up, seeing how things are going, also included with the weekly check-ins by email. Okay, I think it's important to really make sure that you're in constant communication with your client. One, that they're happy, all right, and two, that they're able to continue with the program that you have for them. But again, this is a rough draft, all right? So this isn't what you would be getting from me. This is me just kind of creating a program for someone. And like I said, this is a workout that I would do, to be honest. This would be a workout very similar to something that I would do. The volume, the exercises. I don't deadlift anymore, but everything else on here, 100% I would do. You also see core in here, by the way, on the leg days. So you have push, pull, legs, and then core twice a week. So this is a pretty advanced, looking at it, it's a pretty advanced program. And it's got a little bit of everything. Like I said, it's got everything covered. All your muscle groups covered. Hitting all, like if we just take a look at shoulders, hitting all three heads of the shoulders multiple ways. Nothing is left out. And I'm a big proponent of that as well. Why create imbalances? All right, we have core in there twice a week. All right. Again, for all of my clients, do I have core twice a week? No, it just depends what your frequency is. This is a huge frequency, guys. This is 6 workouts, strength workouts with a little bit of cardio a week. That is really, really big. That's a lot of volume, guys. But I wanted to just give an example. Maybe next time I'll give an example of one of my clients, maybe a 70-year-old client who is just trying to rehabilitate, like I said, lower back and a knee, or rehabilitate a shoulder. It does not look like this, trust me. It's much different. It can't look like this. That's the one thing that I love about coaching, is that every client is different. Okay, so I think you guys get the idea. Pretty advanced workout here. But again, you have to be able to cater to a lot of different clients, and being able to do push-pull legs and create a program for an advanced lifter, you kind of have to make sure that you know what you're doing, especially with trying to hit all these different exercises, and make sure that they can have time to recover as well, because you don't want them overtraining. That's the one other big thing as well. So with this type of training, nutrition becomes important as well. Very, very important, because you need your calories, right? A lot of people, if you're in a deficit on this, I know this individual was not on a deficit. Like I said, they were trying to put on muscle, so they were in a hypertrophy stage. They were in a calorie surplus, trying to put on a little bit, and it was a slight surplus, if I do remember. I think it was like 200, somewhere in between 250 and 500 calories per day. So just trying to gain weight slowly. 250 calories would be, or 500 calories would be sort of my max for most of my clients. I like people putting on quality weight, not just weight for the sake of putting on weight. So I like individuals putting on lean muscle mass, lowering the amount of body fat that they're putting on. Because you're just going to have to take it off at some point. That's the thing, guys. That's why I don't really do any bulks and cut phases. Now it's just kind of consistent lifting with trying to keep and maintain muscle mass, and if anything, just lose body fat. But here's a nice example of an advanced program for you guys. So I think that's been on long enough. Let's go to the nutrition side. And again, any questions, go ahead and ask them in chat, and I will be more than happy to answer them. So what goes along with this? All right, now this is a different nutrition plan than for a person than for the individual that I made this program for. So they're not the same. They would be eating way more calories than this. All right, so you'll see here, right? And again, you guys, like I mentioned earlier, the thing that I like doing is writing out. I calculate everything, but I write it out first, all right? Everyone has their own process. I like to write it out and get a nice little sort of guideline of where we want to go. But this is the nutrition portion side. So you'll see in the top kind of right or middle here, the goals of the individual. All right, so that comes in your consultation. What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? All right, and how can I help you achieve them? All right, so we're looking at, someone who wants to, I think this person was just trying to maintain their weight, to be honest, if I remember correctly. So, like, I have a whole book full of these. So this came from sometime last year where I had done a consultation. But I thought it would be interesting just to pick an older one and kind of go through it with you guys. And it's kind of interesting for me as well. So the first thing we always look for is, what are their goals? So we obviously have done a consultation here. All right, we're looking at portion control, starting to measure certain food groups, whether it be proteins, healthy fats, carbohydrates. But then also we see, and if you guys can read that, right here at the bottom is how much carbs should be in their diet, how much protein, how much healthy fats and fiber. Right? So that's something that we're figuring out. Now the first number on here might be the most important. All right, remember to figure out how many calories, especially if you're trying to lose weight or gain weight, maintain weight is important too. I'm not saying that, but especially if you're trying to lose weight, right? This number right here, your basal metabolic rate, your BMR, becomes very, very important. Right? It's going to help set you up, all right, and help set me up for what your diet is going to look like. How many calories are you going to be eating? How many carbs can you have at each meal? Proteins, fats, all right? Now, again, we've already done the consultation, so I know that this individual, all right, I think I gave two options here, okay? Because one of the hardest things for individuals is when they get on, a program and they start to work with a nutritionist, they start to work with a personal trainer, the thing that is always low is going to be protein. It's just, I've seen it time and time again after working with hundreds of individuals at this point. All right, everyone's protein is always low. So I think I gave two options here. One where 30% of their calories were coming from protein, and one where 25% of their calories were coming from protein. And the reason why I did that, and you can see that here, is they were having 3 meals a day. They didn't snack. They didn't want to have any more than 3 meals. For someone who's trying to increase protein and trying to put on a little bit of muscle, would I suggest maybe an extra meal? Yes, probably. And we probably had that conversation, because you can see a big check mark here where I liked option number 2 for them instead of option number 1. And I'll go through that, and I'll go through the reasons why. So what we do first is we calculate your basal metabolic rate. How many calories do you burn just being alive and well? I mean, a lot of people think that number is, walking around all day. How many calories do you need to maintain your weight? All right, this is basal metabolic rate is if you're lying in bed and not moving all day. All right, so your body, all right, is just burning 1,500 calories per day to maintain its weight. So that's your starting point. A lot of people, and even some trainers that I know, will create a diet through the basal metabolic rate. But remember, that's our starting point. Okay, so when people, and this one was very easy for me, right? It was 1,500 calories, right? So that made it simple. I kind of took out some of the personal information of the individual, but again, that number is calculated through their height, through their weight, and then also through their age. Okay, and there's a couple other factors that go into it, but I wanted to make sure that I take that out. Okay, so 15. So whatever their height was, whatever their age was, whatever their weight was, all right, obviously it's going to have a big factor on, how many calories you're going to be burning through the day, how many calories your body needs during the day, right? Theirs came out to 1,500 right on the dot. maybe I might have rounded down. It might have been like 1502, but usually I don't round down. You'll see that in the other numbers, all right? But 1500, all right? So that's their starting point, basal metabolic rate. Now, when it comes to losing weight, we don't just look at the basal metabolic rate, guys. We look at the TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure, all right? So counting your calories, calculating your macros. And again, you'll see me in brackets put to maintain weight. So like I said, this person was just looking to maintain weight. How many calories did they need to be eating? All right, so if you start at 1500 and you're just sedentary, all right, so I already told you guys that, 1500 does not cover you just walking around or living life, all right? We have to look at, this total daily energy expenditure number, all right? Because you are going to be walking around a little bit. You are going to be working. You'll be outside, all right? So for this individual, if they're sedentary, and again, I just was giving this as an example because, again, you see a check mark. We're trying to start with some light exercise, which was just 15 to 30 minutes, 1 to 3 times a week. Right, so I wouldn't suggest that they're sedentary. Of course, you guys know that I'm a big proponent of trying to get in at least 150 minutes of some sort of movement every single week. All right, so sedentary, to maintain their weight, if they weren't working out, could eat about 1,700 calories, 1,685. Right, and if they're doing that, then they would be maintaining their weight. Now, this was an individual, all right, who is a little bit shorter, all right? They weren't obese or anything like that. So that's why these numbers are going to be a little bit lower, right? Because this is quite low. So we have sedentary. Now, the check mark here is because I like the option for them, of course, to do light exercise. You can see how many more calories per day you can have if you're just working out or walking, whatever it is, swimming, walking, going for a hike, doing some resistance training, just 15 to about 30 minutes a day, 1 to 3 times a week. Now this individual can eat about 1,930 calories. All right, so we see a nice increase there. All right, because they're burning more calories, they can eat more calories in order to maintain their weight. It would be very similar if they were trying to lose as well. You could still eat more because you're burning more calories, and it still puts you in that deficit. Here, we're just trying to get to maintenance. All right, so the example is maintenance here. All right, so about 1930, and I think that's what I calculated when I was doing their goal. All right, so 1 to 3 times a week, just 15 to 30 minutes, 1900. So that's a nice little bump up there. All right, that's about 250 calories extra per day. I mean, that's pretty nice. That's something that makes it much more sustainable. You can maintain it. All right, and the other thing is you're getting all of the health benefits of exercise. Because like I said to you guys, one of the most important things that we can do for our overall health is to make sure that we're getting 150 minutes a week at least of exercise. And that can come through many different forms. All right, if moderate activity, if they're working out 3 to 5 times a week, then 2,176. And then this is someone who would be very active if they're working out 6 to 7 times a week, kind of higher intensity. All right, so maybe if they were running some of those days, maybe if they were doing that program that I just showed you guys above with the push-pull leg days, if they're doing something like that because they're still doing some cardio in there, then it bumps all the way up to almost 2,500 calories. So you can see the difference between sedentary and then someone who's active, almost 1,000 calorie difference there, about a little bit less than 900 there. But 900, that's per day. So that's thousands of calories per week that you're able to eat more because you're exercising. You're burning those calories off. So you don't want to get into one of those programs where if you're increasing your movement, all right, you're keeping calories the same. If you're doing that, all right, one, you're just going to be feeling horrible. You're going to feel very, very tired, lethargic. Your workouts are going to suffer because of it. And sticking to your diet is going to be very hard, all right? Your nutrition is going to suffer as well. There's not a lot of people who could stick to 1,685 calories as a sedentary individual and then have them stick to that if they're working out 6 to 7 times a week. Probably 6. You want probably at least one off day times a week at high intensity. It's just not realistic, and it's just not very smart. It'd be a horrible diet just because it'd be too low and something you can't maintain. Your energy levels are going to be decreased dramatically. And everything that we want to do, guys, is something that you can maintain for the rest of your life. And again, this is to maintain weight, guys. The goal here is to maintain. I mean, how nice would it be? The numbers would look totally different if we were trying to lose a pound a week, if we were trying to gain a pound a week, all right? If we were trying to gain a pound a week and you're doing all that exercise, the calories would be much higher, all right? Same thing lower. I like to take it a little bit slower when you're losing weight, guys, so you're not in such a calorie deficit. Like I said, if you're in a calorie deficit, you're working out, let's say 3 to 5 times a week, unless you're getting adequate nutrition in, you are not going to be able to stick to that diet or that workout program. All right, and that's where the consultations on the Patreon, working as a coach, that's where the weekly or bi-weekly check-ins come in to make sure that you're able to stick to that diet. Make sure you're feeling okay, because if not, something has to change. Either, cut down a little bit on, some of the volume of the workout, or increase calories. But something has to change. You need to be able to sustain it. All right, so let's take a look here next. So we have our total daily energy expenditure. We now see how many calories this individual would need to eat in order to maintain weight if they were sedentary, if they were doing light exercise 1 to 3 times a week, if they're doing moderate activity, or if they were very active. And we see the different calories in there. Right? Now, I put down their goal is to maintain their weight, but they want to increase their health. All right, so optimize their overall health. All right, so, and a lot of people sometimes, a lot of people will think of working with a coach or a personal trainer or a nutritionist to lose weight. Right? But a lot of the times, individuals just want to optimize their overall health, and that's why I have it in the title of this stream. A lot of people just want to get healthier, all right? And you can do that. Obviously, some of the most important things that you can do is diet and exercise. There's other things thrown in there as well, making sure you're getting all your nutrition, making sure you're getting good sleep, trying to, lower stress levels, all of that type of stuff. But working out and diet play a huge role. So let's talk a little bit about what I kind of came up with them in terms of, how many calories they should be eating. What percentage of carbohydrates, proteins, and fat should make up their diet. Right now, as you see me here listing it, 40, again, this is to maintain. Again, if they're trying to lose weight, trying to gain weight, it might be a little bit different, but we're just trying to stay the course, all right? Something that they can maintain. All right, so for them, I think we were in the, I think it was the light exercise, because I have a check mark here. So they were eating almost about 2,000 calories. We had to try to figure out what would get them to about 1930. All right, so again, they were only eating 3 meals. All right, I like pointing it out if they're only eating 3 meals, what they would have to be eating, or what a good breakdown would look like if they were eating 3 meals. And this is why I like maybe a snack during the day, maybe a 4th meal. All right, kind of smaller meals, breaking it up a little bit. It doesn't really matter as long as you're getting the macronutrients in. The only thing that was helping them in this instance is their protein was pretty high. And this is why I created the second option for them, and you see the check mark there. But we had a 40 to 45% of their calories coming from carbs, 30% coming from protein, and 25 to 30% from healthy fats, or from fats. Right? And so if it was 40%, right, that I could tell someone, 40%, try to get 40% of your calories from carbs. But again, my job is to make it simple for you, where you don't have to think about it. So 40%, if they're trying to get in 1,930 calories, 40% would be about 168.5 grams of carbohydrates, or about 674 calories coming from carbohydrates. All right, and that's at the 40% level. All All right, so just kind of breaking it down just a little bit for you. And again, this is all rough calculations. I always like to write it down first. All right, this would not be something that I would give to someone always. All right, now, next we had 30% protein. So what would 30% protein look like? Well, you'd have to get 126 grams of protein in. Now, that seems high for a lot of individuals, but for this individual, I remember that 126 was not even, was not super high for them. Right? I believe that their weight, right, was somewhere in and about the 180s. All right, so we're not, a lot of trainers will start you off at 1 pound to 1 gram of protein. So that just means if you're 180 pounds, you'd be eating 180 grams of protein. That's very tough to start at. Something almost next to impossible if they're only eating 3 meals a day. I mean, we're at 126, and you'll see in this first option that's 42 grams of protein each meal. That is a lot, right? So regardless, 30% of protein, 126 grams of protein there, and 505.5 grams of calories. So 505.5 calories per day coming in the form of protein. Now we look at fat, right? 30% of their diet coming from fat. Now, some individuals would ask, well, why isn't it the same as protein? All right, if protein's 30% and fat's 30%, why is protein 126 and then fat is only 56? Well, we have to remember that protein per gram, there's 4 calories. Per gram of fat, there is 9 calories. So your fat, the grams, is going to be lower than it would be for the protein. Now we see the calories is the same, of course, all right, because you are getting 30%. It is 30% and 30% here, but the grams is different, all right, because there's more calories in a gram of protein than there is in a gram of fat than there is in a gram of protein. All right, so their breakdown was, if they're sticking to a 40-30-30 split, so a 40 carb, 30 protein, 30 fat, 168.5, 126, and then 56, looking at it in grams. All right, so the other nice, interesting thing here is too, if you want to break it down by meal, all right, and you kind of have to do this to show, right, how should we be eating? How should I set up my diet? Because, you could just give those numbers, all right, but I think this really plays an important role in just kind of giving someone a snapshot of what a meal should look like. So if they were trying to get those numbers in, and they're just eating these 3 meals a day, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, like most individuals, to be honest, right? Sometimes there's some late night snacking that's going on, all right, but we were taking that out, right? Because for them, the late night snacking was foods that just weren't nutritious, all right? So in each meal, all right, if they were going to be all the same, and sometimes you can switch it up, and then that's why it's important to work with a coach. Some people like getting a little bit more of their calories in the morning. Most of my clients, typically lately, have been liking, and I myself like getting most of my calories at nighttime. All right, or towards after the afternoon into the evening, all right? But here it was all the same. So if we're trying to hit those calorie marks, all right, in each meal it'd be 56 grams of protein, carbs, 56 grams of carbs, 42 grams of protein, and 18.6 grams of fat. All right, and again, like I said, I don't usually round. All right, sometimes I will, but if you're my client and you're paying money to try to have this calculated for you, all right, why round it up to 19? All right, that's not going to hit your goal. All right, maybe in a day that, yes, this might not be too much of a difference, but after 3 months, if you're 1 or 2 grams off here, 1 or 2 grams off there on a daily basis, that's going to add up, especially when you're talking about fat, because remember, in each gram of fat is 9 grams of protein. It's 9 calories, right? So each one's consistent, 56 grams, 42 grams, 18.6 grams of carbs, protein, and fat. Now, we had the discussion. I thought the protein was a little bit high for them. They weren't getting nearly that amount of protein on a daily basis. So even though it was 30%, all right, and then they were about 180 pounds, we were still on the lower side of protein at 126. I still felt like that was going to be tough for them. All right, 42 grams of protein, you would really have to be on track with your protein intake. I mean, you would have to have some sort of lean protein, probably animal source, like chicken, fish, egg whites, a bunch of other things like a protein supplement in order to get that. Because don't forget, yes, you can add the protein in there, but let's say even if you're having salmon, the higher the protein goes that you're having in salmon, you're bumping up your fats. All right, so to make them fit your calories, all right, it can be very tough sometimes. Right, so as your protein's going up while you eat salmon, you might be crossing that threshold of 18.6 grams of fat per meal. And that's why it can be a little bit tough. So that's why you have to sit down and we have to create the diet. The other thing is, if you're trying to get protein, a lot of people like meat alternatives like beans or lentils. That's great as well. You're going to get some protein in there, but the more you eat, right, you'll never hit 42 grams of protein, right, and then keep it at 56 grams of carbs, because there's way more carbs in beans than there is protein. So that's why I'm saying you have to kind of dial it in and make sure you're getting some sort of lean protein source. So I thought that was probably a little bit too high for them. I thought maybe we should make it a little bit easier, bump it to a 45 percentage of their calories coming from carbohydrates, bump it down to 25% in protein, and keep it at 30% for fat. Okay. So looking at this now, 42 grams every single meal. You'd really have, like I said, you'd have to have fish, chicken, lean ground beef would probably get you there. You'd have to have those types of foods, egg whites, whey protein, any type of protein, supplement, collagen, whatever it is. You'd have to have something like that, guys, or else you're just not going to, quote unquote, fit your macros. You're going to be bumping your carbs too high or your fat too high with it, or just not getting enough protein. A lot of people will tell me, well, just have eggs. I love eggs, superfood, one of my favorite protein sources. But if you're going to try to get of whole eggs, we're talking about, if you're trying to get 42 grams of protein from whole eggs, that's a lot of eggs. You'll get bored of eggs before you know it, but you'll never keep in your fat range. Your fat will just be too high. I think you'd have to eat about 7 eggs to get 42 grams of protein. We're talking about whole eggs. Your fat wouldn't be at 18. You'd almost double it. It would go to 35 grams. So you wouldn't be able to stick into your macros. You'd have to have that lean protein source. So eggs would be nice. Eggs are great. You could have one or two in there, but you just would have to add something else. And so, like I said, you see the little check mark that I did here. And again, this is my rough draft, and so I like to scribble on it sometimes. We got the little check mark there, the little calculations down in the corner, of course. A Coach Nate kind of way of doing things to start. But again, we're just breaking it down. This is the program creation, guys. But I bumped up the carbs. I bumped up their protein because I thought 42 just wasn't going to happen. I thought 56, they could get away with a few more carbs. Remember, and this is goal specific, guys. All right, their goal was to maintain weight. I wanted to make it as easy as possible for them. All right, so we went from a 40-30-30 split to a 45-25-30 split. All right, and so for them, then their carbs bumped up, all right, and their protein lowered. All right, so 7 grams less per meal. So about 21 grams down per day, which makes it a little bit easier. All right, 21 is quite substantial. It's, a few ounces of chicken. Even that can make it a little bit easier. But 35, a lot more attainable. 35 grams of protein per meal, a lot more attainable than the 42. And I thought the 42 was just way too high for someone who's starting out their diet. And it's going to be a lot easier for them to get the carbs in, let's be honest. For most of us, guys, carbs and fat are going to be easier than protein. But we see, again, 3 meals here. They're not doing any nighttime eating. They're not having any snacks during the day. They were pretty hard set on having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, here's the macro breakdown. Up here, I gave the calories as well. Right? So we see the calories here also. All right, but during each meal, you see there were carbs 63.3. Again, don't always like to round. You're paying me to give you the information, so I'll give it to you. 63.3 grams of carbs, 35 grams of protein, and the fat didn't change. All right, the calories are still the same, but our percentages up here changed, but our fat stayed the same at 18.6. All right, and then I did my rough calculation here down in the bottom. So option number 2 was something that I believe that we went with, just because a little bit easier to get the protein in, carbs are a little bit higher, and then fat, good levels of fat, healthy fats. All right, so now not only did I do the sedentary for them, all right, so I didn't just do sedentary. All right, this was a sedentary one, so their only goal was maintenance and health. Good morning, Cynthia. I hope you're doing well. Good morning, everyone. Happy I could catch a little of the live on the way to work. That's awesome, Cynthia. You're on your way to work on a Sunday. I'm glad you're able to check it out, too. Thank you so much. We started early today. I know it's earlier for most of the viewers. Probably a lot of people still sleeping. We started at 5:30. But I hope you're doing great, Cynthia. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I do appreciate it. So again, this was their sedentary. Now, what I wanted them to try to start doing was to get in light exercise. So we see the light exercise option. Again, I'm thinking optimal health. So I'm using verbiage here that, I didn't even remember that I put in this optimal health. But again, I'm trying to not only, yes, have a good diet, but for optimal health, we want some exercise in here, guys. So we gave the option of, now I don't want to give too much away. We'll get into the foods there in a second, but the light exercise option was what I wanted them to start to add into their lifestyle. All right, we want them healthy. We want all the benefits that come from movement. Whether it be reducing the risk of chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, cognitive ailments as we get older, tons of stuff. Right? One of the best things that you can do for your overall health is to begin exercising. And that's where a coach comes in. They can help get you on that path. All right. If you missed it, right, if you go back and watch this a little bit later, you'll see the program that I created. It was an advanced program, right? But, just like there's advanced diets and there's easier diets, right? You would want to get on a beginner program, all right? And maybe I'll put that up next time, what a beginner workout program would look like for someone who's just starting resistance training or maybe even cardio. All right, but I wanted this individual to add light exercise in. All right, so you start simple. Remember, I told you guys, and I've said this for all of my my clients, and I've said this in all of my streams. All right, it's baby steps. You do not jump from no exercise, all right, and then jump into moderate. So 5 times a week. It's just not realistic for someone. It's just too tough. So what we thought was, okay, let's go to the 3 times a week, but keep it at 15 to about 30 minutes. I wanted them to try to get 30 minutes of movement in there 3 times a week. Again, we shoot for 150. This was starting at 90. We can always bump it up. You don't want to start too fast. Yes, I am. Do you have a book out on all these amazing? I do, Cynthia. All right, it's very interesting that you mentioned that. Cynthia, the book is available. If you see Mary's name up on top, Mary's a Fit Team member, and all Fit Team members who join the channel as a Fit Team member get the ebook for free. And we went over the book just a little bit earlier here, so going over some of the information. I've talked about this ebook quite a bit, but has all the information, my philosophical ideas on nutrition, how to start creating a diet, and then I have different chapters on this one on carbohydrates. So the lowdown unhealthy carbohydrates. I think I was doing a little pun on words because this was written last year and everyone was on a low carb diet. All right. So we have some information there on carbohydrates, on protein, healthy fats, and then a bunch of other different things. So here's the ebook right here. So thanks for asking, Cynthia. But yes, I do have the ebook still, and I'm very proud of this ebook. As I was mentioning earlier, I spent my lockdown writing that book. So I think it was like 5 weeks, and I was going pretty hard writing every day on that one, taking the research that I'd taken and condensing it, trying to make it as simple as possible. I didn't want to create a 150-page book. All right, it's just too much, especially with the way I like to do things. Keep it simple, kind of like I'm doing here. But thanks for asking, Cynthia. So that's more of the nutrition side. This is more of the nutrition side here, but also the exercise. So now this individual before, all right, remember, this up here was a breakdown of sedentary 1,685 calories. Now our TDEE, our total daily energy expenditure calories, all right, bumps us up to 1,930. So what does that mean for this client? Well, congratulations, you get to eat more. All right, so because you're moving more, you're burning more calories, you now get to eat more food. All right, so that's always great. We love to hear that, especially if we're maintaining weight or trying to lose, being able to eat more. But I wanted this person for optimal health. All right, like I said, I forgot that I had written this down, and I know here that I also wrote non-sedentary. All right, so I didn't want them sedentary as well. I wanted them to start getting into some sort of workout program, and I probably have the workout program on the next page here that I could show as well. But their calories change, so I gave them a couple options, because you can't force this was a client, by the way, that wasn't an in-person client. This was an online coaching client. All right, so this wasn't someone that I was seeing 2 to 3 times a week. This was someone that we were doing our Skype calls. Okay, sort of similar to what the Patreon would be. So that's why you can't force someone to do exercise, guys. Here, all right, I'm not forcing them. They would come to me, obviously, to work out, but I know they're working out because they're working out with me 2 times a week, right? But this individual, it's online, right? So I wanted to cover all my tracks and make sure, all right, if you're sedentary, if you want to maintain weight, you got to eat around this diet here. All right, it would look more like option 2, 1,685 calories. Here's the breakdown per meal because you're eating 3. All right, now I would prefer you to go the light exercise option, where we're now eating 1,930 calories, and we are now trying to get some exercise in, whether it's light exercise, doesn't matter, just trying to get in 3 times a week for 30 minutes. All right, so that was big with me. So the goal here, maintenance overall health with light exercise. All right, so that was a great goal for them. So maintain weight and then increase overall health with light exercise, and of course with diet. So we see, of course, we still stuck to the 45, 25, 30 split, like I just explained up before, but for the sedentary calorie level. Now it's the exact same, just it's a little bit higher. You guys will notice the grams are higher, so the total number of carbohydrates in grams, the proteins in grams, and the fat in grams, and then just the calories. So how many calories per day are they eating of each of those macronutrients? Okay, so that's going to be a little bit higher as well. And then you can see that kind of in their meals breakdown. All right, so now they're not at 63.3, they're at 72.3 grams of carbs per meal. Again, they're working out, they can eat more. All right, their protein has to go up. All right, again, because they're eating more, 25%. All right, still around 40 grams of protein, and then 21.3 grams of fat. Now, say this, with individuals that I usually start working with, I would like to see maybe an extra meal in there, or like an extra protein meal in there, or an extra protein and fat if they lower these. All right, just because 40 grams of protein for someone who is starting is tough, guys. All right, we're just being realistic. We're taking the average person. Yes, there's exceptions to the rule, but most people jumping, from eating 40 grams a day or less, usually it's somewhere around 30 to 40, all right, 35 a lot of times I'll see with my clients when they first come in and write down their diet, jumping up to 40 grams every single meal, very unrealistic. So we always have that, not unrealistic, but tough, something that you have to think about. So we probably had a conversation at some point of adding in an extra meal just to help them get the protein in. So they didn't have to go 40 grams each meal. They could go something like 30 grams and then have another meal where they had 30 grams to get that protein in. As long as it's totaling 120, right, then we're fine. And again, that's still on the low end, guys. Right? Some people might look at that and be like, wow, you're getting them to eat 40 grams of protein every single meal. Well, a lot of people, and especially if you're losing weight, in order to maintain muscle, they like a 1-to-1 ratio of grams of protein to pounds. All right. So again, if you're 180 pounds, which I think this individual was, I'm 99.9% sure this individual was somewhere in around 180 pounds, maybe even a little bit more. I still have them down at 120 because getting them to 180 would be super tough. That's 60 grams of protein every single meal. Not realistic. All right. Did not start them there. They're beginning their journey. We can change the diet as we go, as we learn. Okay, so that's the calorie breakdown because I wanted them to add light exercise. They're able to eat more. Okay, and then like I said, this is the rough copy. They get a nice copy at the end of the day with everything explained. Sometimes it's a lot of pictures. And if you're a Patreon member, that's what you would be getting as well. Now, I wrote down just for them, and I'll do this sometimes, all right? Just write down at the end some of the foods that they like to eat. So, we have healthy proteins. If you're trying to get the 40 grams, all right, you got to be eating something along these lines here, like eggs, collagen powder, chicken, lean ground beef, egg whites, salmon, tuna, mackerel, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, halibut, tilapia. All could go on and on. All right, now, I also put down here, all right, had mentioned that they like lentils, beans, quinoa, oats, Ezekiel bread, all that stuff. And I thought that was great. You're going to get some protein from that, but it's a meat alternative. It's going to be higher in carbohydrates. So you'd still like something from one of these first 13 mixed in with it. All right, you could just eat a little bit less of it. Okay, so that's why, I kind of give it to you straight. A lot of people will just have like a lentil salad, but you're not going to be getting enough protein, or a bean salad or whatever it is. Quinoa salad's very, very popular. You're just not going to be getting enough protein. Now, we broke down a little bit of the healthy carbs that they like to eat. All right, brown rice, quinoa, oats, some of the stuff you guys have heard me talk about a lot. Sweet potatoes, beans, all great choices, very, very healthy. And there's tons of varieties in that, guys. All right, yeah, you could have a bunch of different potatoes. I love red potatoes, but they were a big fan of sweet potatoes. They wanted to keep it at that. But with rice, so many different varieties of rice, so many different varieties of beans, guys. Chickpeas down here, I see. A little bit of pasta, which I thought was fine, especially started out. Now, the interesting thing here is, all right, we look at fruit, all right, because we're talking about what fruit they like as well. I have berries, four berries. This is kind of a nice little check on me, because you guys know that if I'm going to be suggesting, remember, I always get asked what types of fruits do I suggest. I always say the berries: raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, grapefruit, apples, pears, oranges maybe, or that's why I limited. All right, but the berries, the grapefruit, apples, and pears. Watch any of the streams that come up, if it's healthy carbs or anything like that, where fruit comes up. Those are the ones I'm mentioning. This is from last year, and you see them right on there. But I also wrote fruit 1 to 3 servings max per day. 3 even a little bit higher, all right, but they're just starting out, so I gave them a little bit of wiggle room. All right, it could be 1 to 2 is great. All right, 3 maybe if it's sticking in the berries. but that's the breakdown there. All right, bananas in moderation, right? So not my favorite, but bananas are just fine. I think they really liked bananas, so we made sure we put that in there. All right, and then again, you have your healthy fats, right? Healthy fats. These are some of the things, and this is all coming from their consultation. All right, you guys know all these healthy fats. We've discussed this many times. And you guys know that these are some of my favorite, healthy fats. Omega-3s right here, avocados, eggs, walnuts, almonds, the two favorite nut varieties that I always mention. What else do we have on here? Oh, dark chocolate. I remember them talking about dark chocolate. I put as a treat and limit it. Keep it limited because it's a lot of saturated fat. But, like 1 or 2 times a week, go for the dark chocolate and pecans, all these foods you guys have seen. Numerous videos on the channel with these foods and why they're healthy. Also in the ebook listed as well and explained. Brazil nuts limited, of course, 1 to 2, no more than that because of the amount of selenium that you're getting in them. And then with vegetables, guys, keep it simple, all right? I didn't want to list all the vegetables, all right? Very easy when it comes to vegetables, all right? You can have all sorts. The important thing is you're getting them in. 3 to 6 servings here, guys. I'd rather you have more vegetables than fruit. All right, and a lot of people have more fruit than vegetables. So 3 to 6 servings of vegetables per day. If you can get it to 6, beautiful. All right, just so the important thing is you're getting them in, from dark leafy green vegetables to bell peppers. So also lots of colors, have lots of variety. Don't just go with something like broccoli every single day. Have some variety thrown into your diet as well. Make it easy for yourself. Fiber, if they're eating these healthy foods, all right, it's going to be easy to obtain their fiber, 30 to 35 grams. All right, so keeping it simple there as well. All right, not really listing out the types of foods, but if they're eating, these proteins up here, these carbohydrates for sure, and then these healthy fats, you're going to hit your fiber intake pretty easily. And then just water. This person had almost no water per day. We were just trying to build up to 1 to 2 liters a day, eventually even more, about 3 to 4 liters, all right? And then, if they didn't want water, tea, like green or herbal tea was another option for them. And then we just probably had a quick discussion on fermented foods, just added into their diet. Again, we were keeping it simple. It was probably just a quick discussion to begin their diet journey. Just talking a little bit about the benefits of fermented foods. And so that's the bones of their nutrition program, guys. And that's how it is broken down, the types of foods to fit into the calories, right, in order to maintain their weight and add in some light exercise. That is the program. You keep it simple, all right, but you allow it for someone to be able to follow, all right? And so that just makes it nice and easy. Like I said, here's the weightlifting program. It was an advanced program, 16 weeks. I wouldn't not suggest starting at that. And then, of course, you got the ebook as well. So, if you want to work with a coach, like I said, hundreds of individuals I've helped with. I should throw some pictures up maybe next time of some of my clients that have lost over 100 pounds. I think that would be amazing. I'll ask them if they would let me do that. Maybe cover their face up or something. But, I've had multiple clients lose over 100 pounds. Okay, so I would love to work with you. Love to coach. It's what I do every single day. It's what I did yesterday. It's what I'm going to do later on today after I work out. I'm about to go work out right now myself. You got to practice what you preach, right? This is some of the things you can expect as a Patreon member, and having a personal coach, a nutritionist, a trainer, even a fitness or wellness lifestyle coach. So I hope that helped break it down a little bit. I know we were early this morning. I was up at 5, streaming by 5:30. And so, I really appreciate the support. I know it was early for you guys. I know a lot of people on their Sundays, like Mary was saying, a lot of people on their Sundays aren't going to be able to to get up and get on at that time. No worries. This is going to go up on the channel anyway. You'll be able to watch this later. But for those of you who are in watching now, I see you. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for coming in. I appreciate you. Hope you're having a good day at work. Hope everything is going well. I hope you guys are enjoying your day also. But again, I just wanted to throw this up there. All right. Yes, a lot of thought goes into programs. A lot of thought goes into diet. A lot of thought goes into coaching for my clients. All right. That's the sort of the what I wanted to get out of this stream here. All right, it's not just cookie cutter, everyone gets the same thing. You can see the difference here. All right, all of this is going to change for every single client. I've never done the same macronutrient breakdown or calorie breakdown for the same individual. And like I said, I've done hundreds of these, but never the same one because, like I said, it's based on your activity level, your weight, your age, your height. There's so many variables that go into it. Your intensity of workouts, things like that. All right. If it was the same for everyone, that's just cookie cutter. You can find that anywhere. Here we don't do that. Here it's professional. All right, and we make sure we're giving you good information. But again, thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know we were early. I hope that was easy to follow. I thought it was kind of interesting going through the calories with you guys. Probably some of you guys haven't seen that type of stuff before. But that's what goes into breaking down and making a diet, and so what a workout looks like. So just really enjoyed going over that with you guys. So thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you, Nate. I do appreciate you also. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you. I appreciate that. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you as well, Cynthia. Thank you for stopping in. I hope you have a great day at work, Cynthia. Hope you have a great day. And I hope everyone else has a great Sunday, enjoys their weekend. If you would like coaching, take a look at that Patreon link. It's on the community page. It's on my About page, but it's also at the very top of this page as well. All right, there's many different tiers. Of course, you don't have to sign up for coaching. There's community tiers. There's going to be other streams that are going on. Maybe we can talk about that more in other streams. But again, thank you all for the support. I appreciate it. And like I said, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will talk to you guys very, very shortly. So